Hello and welcome to Art 13131, and we're going to discuss the rest of the assignments on week 2 here. So we're in week 2, we're going to assignment number 4, which is upside down drawing, which I have the example of that. It's not that you draw anything upside down, it is that you draw this upside down, a guy sitting in a chair. So as you may notice, it's not shaded. It's only lines. So we're working with just lines here, and which is going to be different than a lot of the assignments, which will require shading for shape. As you can see, this one has little shape because it's all flat. It doesn't have shading, doesn't have a light source showing on the subject. Um, the idea behind this is working the right side of the brain, which is supposed to be the artistic side of the brain. Um, and a breakdown of that would be this here, right side, uh, left side. So the left side would be more verbal, right side nonverbal, um, left side more analytical. I think the right side more perception, um, left side rational, right side non-rational, not requiring a base of reason or facts, willingness to suspend judgment and risk guessing based on seeing things differently. So basically what that means is when you're looking at this, your your subconscious doesn't recognize it's a guy in a chair, supposedly. It's an experiment, okay? I mean, do I know for sure? No. But it's an experiment, so we're going to do it this way. But you put it upside down like this, and you draw it upside down. So subconscious isn't recognizing a guy in a chair as much as all the different shapes that are fitting together like a puzzle. So this part, this part over that part, they all fit together, sort of like a puzzle, rather than, oh, I'm drawing a guy in a chair. Your right side of your brain is just using these patterns, or mapping out the shapes together, and they fit together like a puzzle. So this is supposed to be working the right side of your brain. Um, you should be feeling a tingling on the right side, as you're doing this. Anyway, so put it upside down. Start at the top or the bottom, but your goal is to put the whole thing in the picture frame, right? So you can't draw it too big. If it's too small, it's still going to fit, but you don't want that either. You want it to fit basically on a page like this is here. So kind of look at it, start somewhere, and continuously go through all the way to the bottom. Or if you're going to start at the bottom, go to the top, or one side, go to the other side. But so you want to continuously put the shapes together, keeping in mind that you have an edge of the paper to work with. So look at this, look at your paper. If you're going to start with the head, then kind of draw the head sort of down here where that portion is. Then start adding the rest of it on as you go, and try to fit the whole thing in there. It's going to look a little silly. That's okay. This is an experiment, so it's kind of a fun one. All right? But just do the lines, don't shade it. Um, and then once you're completed that, you should be good to go. So let's go back to. I mean, you can pause on this and read more about that, the logical, the intuitive, linear, global. That's what we're trying to do. We're working the right side of the brain in this experiment. Okay. All right. And the homework is drawing your own feet. So You can have them propped up in front of you and draw them that way, or you can take a photograph of them and draw them that way. They can be in any position you want. Let's show feet drawings, hopefully, and nothing else. You can go to Bing or Google and put feet drawings here. Now, notice I did say feet, right? Feet, 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 that's 2 feet. Don't draw 1 foot and send it to me. I want 2. So they can be in different positions. You don't have to do 4 feet like this is. One or the other is fine. I'm just showing this to show different positions of feet. What you will notice, if you have a single light source set up, which I would prefer, that's what we're all doing in this course. Anything we draw has a single light source, not multiple, not 3 lamps on in the room or 2, 1. Or if you're going to go by the window, then you're using the outside light shining in from the window on your feet. So 1 single light source, because that's going to make a lot of shadow areas and light areas, where the light is hitting and where the light is not hitting. And so that's what gives you a lot of shape when you're shading. The contrast between the light and darks and the tones you're shading make the shape happen. So we see that it is sort of rounded, or that ankle bulges out there in a round sort of way, and all the toes have a round shape to them as they curve over into the darker side, or you're going to shade it that way. The light side is less shading or no shading, and then it gradually, with midtones, goes into the darker side where you have all the dark tones. Okay, and that's what I'm going to show you in multiple ways here. You can see all the lights and darks in here. There may be 7 different levels of light and dark tones, right? 1, then it gets a little lighter right here. 2, a little darker. A little darker here. 3, a little darker. 4, and then the real dark area here. 5, then you have the real lightest areas. 6 or 7, maybe 5, but certainly not 1 or 2 or 3. You need to have more levels of tones because it's going to show the shape. The ankle bulges out here. It's catching more light than the back side. That's darker. Right in here, it's a crevice that's darker. It's not catching the light. Around the side of the heel and the bottom of the foot. And then here you have a reflection mark from light source bouncing off another surface over here onto the toe. Look at your feet when you're drawing them. It's not one tone. Okay, yes, they're in color, so you're going to take the lightest colors and shade them very lightly with graphite, which is gray to black. It's different levels of gray and black. And you're going to look at your feet, which are in color, and notice the lightest color parts and the darker color parts. Then you put it into the graphite. But as you see, all these toes, they have dark places in between them. And it gradually goes there. It doesn't all of a sudden go there. Some are more sudden than others, but if you'll notice, there's a little bit of a tone coming off that darker tone into the lighter tone, and then around to the other side where it's a little darker again. That shows the shape. It's round. And whatever bones and veins you have in your foot, all this is drawn by the different tones you're putting in. Lights and meeting darks, lights meeting darks, lights meeting darks, back and forth, all through this. Now, you have to notice this when you're looking at your own feet. You can take photographs of your feet and use those, or one, but try to get the single light source on one side or the other. If it's directly on top of it, it's going to show less shadow areas. Then it's going to be very hard to show shape through shading. You want it to come in from the right or the left, maybe top right, top left or something, and then then you can get all those tones you're looking for. Here's another example now showing all the veins and little hairs and stuff. Well, the hairs are going to probably be little lines. But the veins here, that's just dark, meaning a less darker, lighter, meaning darker, lighter, darker, lighter. That's all that is. That's how you show that. Because the light's hitting on one side of that and not on the other side. And the deep crevices are not being lit up as much as the veiny parts, which are catching more light. So it's just really a matter of light and darks. All this drawing is. And then, of course, you're going to map out what the toe shapes are first with a light line, a gesture line like I showed in the gesture video. You lightly map out what you're doing, where the proportions are, how the toes tear down and get smaller and smaller. And then you start adding all the shading. And where the toenails are, a little light line, then shading. Toenails have shading too. Darken the crevice, getting light where the reflection is on the light is hitting it, and then it gets light darker and darker as it goes into the crevice again. All of them are doing that. So that's what you want to do. And you're going to see that in your own toes. Same with these. Darker, lighter, all the way through all of this. So start noticing that about feet or anything you're drawing. There's many examples here. Some are just gesture drawings and ones without shade, just showing the position of the foot. You want to maybe get that together before you start shading, but you want a lot of contrast. A lot of darks and lights and everything in between. This makes a very strong drawing when you do that. Okay, you don't want it all faint in the same tone or two tones. Everything's very faint, and you want darker areas. You might have to make them up if you're not seeing them in your own model. You may have to darken up this side and lighten up this side to give all that contrast. It brings the subject matter off the page at you because of all that contrast. When you don't have contrast, it sits flat on the page. So all this is getting accomplished, again I'll say, by light and dark areas, shaded with the side of the pencil mostly, and there's some tip sharper lines, but most of it's shaded with the side of the pencil, like in the shading video. Okay? Alright, so many positions to have feet in. Excuse me. And many ways to draw, and everybody does it a little different. I'm just saying, have that contrast, get the proportions correct before you start adding in the shading, and then shade. I mean, shade a lot. You want light and darks. I'll say it all semester, every day of the week. So there's different ways, right? But make it strong. Light into darks, midtones everywhere that gradually go into the darker areas from the lighter areas. Then you have the veins sticking out, which aren't drawn with lines. This is drawn with shading. Shading is not done with lines. It's done with the side of the pencil, not like writing words or letters or numbers. With the tip of the pencil, you're using the side of the pencil mostly. And then you can also use a smudger, or Q-tips can work, moving graphite and smoothing it out. So Q-tips, a tip of a corner of a rag can work. Your own fingers can work to smooth out shading and make it less rough looking, because every time you use a rough texture, that means you're showing that the feet are rough. Well, if they're not rough, if they're smooth, then you want smooth shading, and sometimes you may have to use a smudger. Now they sell smudgers, which are like a pencil of really tightly compact paper or cardboard that has a tip on it, and use that to smudge. You can buy those. or you can make your own, and you can use Q-tips, or you can put a like a chopstick or something in a rag and use the tip of the rag with the chopstick inside to sort of make it hard there, and use that as a smudger. Okay, so there's different ways to use smudgers to smooth out your graphite, and that's what I'd like you to do with this. Okay, and then the upside down guy, again, is right here. I'll try to get that something you can download too. It'll probably be in the along with the syllabus on the left-hand bar, left sidebar. When you're on the course page, when you look under syllabus, that's where I have the weekly assignment schedule, which you should probably just print that out and have it somewhere with you so you can mark down what you've done or what I said to do over and get a better grade on. Keep that track of every assignment and what's going on with it. So print that out. It's on the syllabus window there, or page. So syllabus is there, weekly assignment schedule, and then this upside down guy will be there too, hopefully, if I remember how to do it. All right, so that's it for now, and we'll talk with you next week. If you haven't sent week 1, you should send that by the end of this week, week 2. Okay, and that's the way to keep up. Like I said many times, and some get confused with this, and I don't blame you, but it's best to send your completed assignments, your first attempt at that, by the following week that it was posted. So posted in week 1, get it to me by the end of week 2. Okay? That being said, I will accept and grade all these assignments up till the end of the semester. So you're allowed to get a better grade on it if you do it over. That's why I'm not saying there's a due date the week after they're posted. I'm saying the due date is really ultimately at the end of the term. But don't wait till the end of the term to do any of these. Get your first attempt into me by the following week it was posted. And then we work on it. And you may take weeks to get it better. Or if you don't get it better, you get a lesser grade, right? But I'm giving you an idea, an option, not an idea, an option to get a better grade all through the semester. All right, so get working on those and send me your work, and we'll talk with you next week.